You are stopped at the lights on a Wednesday. Old sedan, paid off years ago. Then a blacked-out dual cab eases up beside you, gleaming. 85 grand of Ute, not a scratch on it. Quilted leather inside, seats that heat you in winter and cool you in summer. 2 big screens glowing across the dash. A stereo worth more than your first car. In a work truck. And the thought that creeps in is the wrong one. It is not how do they afford that. The real question, the one that should worry you, is what does that thing cost to feed? Because right now, filling it up hurts. Diesel has pushed past $2.20 a litre, and a ute like this drinks it. This is the cost nobody ever puts on the window sticker. So let us clear one thing up early. The price on the windscreen is not the part that quietly drains you. Neither is the loan, really. The loan is just the bit everyone argues about. Sure, the dealer stretches it over 7 years so the monthly feels soft. Around $1,300 a month on a ute like this, and close to $30,000 in interest buried in the years. But even if you paid cash tomorrow, even if you owed nobody a single cent, this thing would still reach into your account every week. That is the part we are going to add up. Here is what actually changed. A ute used to be a stripped-out work tool, vinyl floors, crank windows, cheap to run. Now it is a luxury vehicle that happens to have a tray on the back. And a luxury vehicle costs luxury money to keep alive. 2.5 tons of metal, a thirsty engine, big heavy wheels, a screen for everything. All of it lovely, all of it expensive to feed. The trouble is you get sold on the drive-away price and the monthly repayment. Nobody at the dealership hands you the running bill. That part you only meet later, one fill at a time. So start with the tank, 80 litres to brim it. At today's diesel, that is around $175 to go from empty to full. One fill, once or twice a week. Picture the servo on a Sunday. You slot the nozzle in and watch the numbers spin. Past 100, past 150. It finally clicks off somewhere near $175. Ford will quote you a polite figure on paper. In the real world, a heavy dual cab like this drinks closer to 10.5 litres every 100 kilometres. More again if you tow. And here is the quiet irony. Most of these trucks are built to haul 3.5 tons across the outback. Yours does the school run, the Bunnings trip, and then sits in the driveway looking tough. Do a normal year of driving and you are burning through roughly $3,500 in diesel alone. Call it $70 a week, gone, before you have done anything else. $70 a week. That is a small tax you pay just to own it. Rain, shine, working, or parked. And when global oil ticks up, that number climbs with it and you cannot stop it. And fuel is the part that stings most right now. You have felt it at the Bowser these past few months. Diesel climbing, then climbing again. Where it goes next is anyone's guess. And that is before the family car, before the school run, before the actual groceries. The ute is a second fuel bill, sitting on top of the one you already had. Then there is insurance. Covering an $85,000 vehicle is not cheap. Comprehensive cover on a ute like this can easily run past $2,000 a year. Your old paid-off sedan, you might insure that for a few hundred. Same driver, same suburb, same roads. The premium is not really about you. It is about the value parked in your driveway. Now the tyres. Big wheels wrapped in chunky rubber look the part. A full set on one of these can run past $1,500. And all that weight chews through them faster than you would think. Servicing is a few hundred a year while it is under the plan. Fair enough. But the first big repair after the warranty runs out is where the real bills start turning up. Add registration and the compulsory insurance on top. None of it is optional. None of it waits. It all just quietly leaves your account whether you drove the thing or left it parked. And the reason it all sneaks up is that it never arrives as one bill. It is a tap here, a tap there. A fill on Tuesday, insurance in March, tyres next winter, death by 1,000 small withdrawals. You feel it when they land together, the fortnight the tyres and the service turn up in the same week. The registration notice that arrives right after a big fill, that is when the shiny ute starts to feel heavy. So stack it together. Diesel, insurance, tyres, servicing, registration. Before you make a single loan repayment, you are often looking at north of $600 a month just to keep it fed and legal. Now add the repayment back on, $600 to keep it running, plus around $1,300 for the loan itself. All in, that ute is closer to $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month. That is not a car payment. That is a second rent, a second mortgage that happens to have wheels, a tow bar, and a badge on the grill. So picture someone on a solid wage. Good job, nothing flash. On paper, they can easily afford the repayment. What quietly catches them is everything after it. The fills, the premiums, the tires they forgot to budget for. Now look at the other car back at those lights, the 10-year-old sedan. A bit dusty, long since paid off. It sips cheaper fuel, wears cheap tires, and costs a few hundred a year to insure. All in, that quiet little car might cost a couple of $100 a month to run. Against the Utes 2000, the gap between those two driveways is over $20,000 a year. Stretch that gap over 10 years and it is not pocket change. It is a house deposit. It is a paid-off second car. It is the difference between getting somewhere and just treading water. $20,000 a year, year after year, is how ordinary people quietly get ahead. Same road, same lights, same suburb. One driveway is building something, the other is burning fuel to look the part. And look, none of this makes the ute owner a mug. These trucks are genuinely brilliant. Capable, comfortable, safe. The pull to own one is real, and the marketing behind them is very, very good at its job. But so much of that pressure is manufactured. The driveway next door. The mate who just upgraded. The quiet sense that a big shiny ute is simply what having made it is supposed to look like. Because the truck was never really sold to you as a truck. It was sold to you as a feeling. Capable, successful, sorted. And that feeling turns out to be a lot more expensive to run than the brochure ever let on. So here is the one thing worth doing before you ever sign. Do not ask what the repayment is. Ask what the whole thing costs. Fuel, insurance, tires, servicing, registration, all of it every month. Because the honest number is not the $1,300 the dealer shows you on the screen. It is the $2,000 that Ute actually pulls out of your life month after month for years. And if you run that number and it still stacks up for you, then buy it and enjoy every minute. No judgment here at all. Just run it first, with your eyes open before the fuel light ever comes on. Because the win was never about which car turns heads at the lights. It is about protecting the gap between what you earn and what quietly leaks away. That gap is where your freedom actually lives. Quick one before we finish up. Everything here is general information only. It is not financial, legal, or tax advice. For your own situation, it is always worth getting advice that properly fits you. If this made you look at that intersection a little differently, do me a favor, give it a like. It helps this kind of content reach more Australians who need it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so the next one finds you. See you in the next one.